Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be unto you and the mercy of Allah and His blessings. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness there is nobody and nothing to be served or adored except Allah alone, and that Muhammad is His messenger and the last of His prophets. uh, Today, I'm going to read to you some of my writings on the subject of music, mobilization, and strategy. And hopefully, as I read, you'll come to understand why this is important. And this is old stuff. I was writing it over 20 years ago, uh, but I'm going to read it to you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. With the name of Allah, the gracious, the compassionate. Uh, Music, mobilization, and strategy, the power of intelligent listening. There is a war against African American men. African American men are being shot down in the streets by uniformed policemen. African American men are being dragged into the criminal justice system in outrageous numbers. African American men are dying from the effects of stress. African American men are underrepresented in colleges and universities. These difficulties add to the burdens of already overburdened African American women. Pharaoh ruled the children of Israel by killing the men and allowing the women to live. This is a strategy of tyrants. What it means is destroying the spirit of courageous leadership. In that sense, African Americans are being assimilated as a people who are materialistic, conservative, and accommodating. We want a piece of the pie. We do not understand that the people who rule America from the shadows want Americans to be a piece of the pie, want African Americans to be a piece of the pie, which they consume at leisure. It's their pie. I'm proposing an overall strategy for liberation. I'm sorry, I'm going to leave that paragraph out. Music, mobilization, and strategy is about the strategic benefits of listening to symphonic music. The European, so called white people, have convinced the world that Africans have little or nothing to do with what they call classical music. By classical, they refer to the Greeks and the Romans, claiming them as ancestors and as the originators of their civilization. In fact, today's Europeans are descendants of Germans and Slavs, not of Greeks and Romans, and they are heirs to civilization which came to them from Africans, ancient, medieval, and modern. The ancient Africans, called Egyptians, were the progenitors of Greco-Roman civilization. The medieval Africans in Spain and other parts of Europe, called Moors, were the progenitors of the European rise into modern civilization, and modern Africans caught up in the transatlantic slave traffic have been since the 16th century a powerful influence on the development of symphonic music. Although these facts may cause African Americans to feel better about their place in the world, they have little to do with the benefits of listening to symphonic music. Whatever the Europeans intended the symphonic repertoire for, I am convinced that the Creator has made it an encyclopedia compendium of strategies. When African American men actively listen to this music, strategic thinking will become second nature and automatic. This is what we need. Cultural nationalism will lead to African Americans as a museum display. Piece of the pie accommodationism will lead to the extinction of African Americans as a people. Violent confrontationism will lead to violent extermination. We must think strategically to be free. That is the first section. Um, and I think I will read the second section, the second part. I forget how many parts there are. There might be five. How does music relate to strategy? Music is a language, a precise and sensitive language, and not a universal language, whatever that means. You need to actively and intelligently listen to music in order to learn its language. Language is symbolic. No language is literal. Mastering language is the mastery of symbols and the mastery of translating those symbols into other symbols. The words moon in English, luna in Spanish, and qamar in Arabic all denote the object in the sky. But the object itself is a symbol with many meanings. A description of the Battle of Gettysburg uses symbols, words, to describe that event, but the event itself is a symbol. A businessman or a politician might be able to use the Battle of Gettysburg as an example, a symbol of what can be done in his own field of endeavor. By way of illustration, in many symphonies there is a traditional staging area just before the return to the main theme, the recapitulation. This is true of the first movement of Beethoven's Third Symphony and the first movement of Brahms's First Symphony. The first movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony has no staging area before the main theme returns. In military strategy, southern England was the staging area for the Norman invasion, and the hills around Mecca were Prophet Muhammad's staging area for taking that city without a fight, which is the value of good strategy. The Zulu were known at times to run into battle without stopping to regroup. No staging area, a strategy for catching your enemy off guard. At the Battle of Isandlwana, the Zulu parked their army in a totally unexpected location, an unusual staging area, unbeknownst to the British force that they subsequently annihilated. A musical counterpart is found in the first movement of Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, which uses a non-traditional staging area seemingly far removed from the home key. But then in two or three smooth steps, swoosh, we're back to the main theme in the home key. Strategy means catching your adversary off guard. In recommending that African American men listen to symphonic music, I am not suggesting that we stop listening to other kinds of music. In fact, I am suggesting that we start listening. Most people not only do not listen to music, they have lost the faculty for listening to music. They are able to react emotionally, but they cannot actually hear. So start listening. It's work. Listen to swing, bebop, cool jazz, hard bop, rhythm and blues, soul music, rap, gospel. Listen. In recommending that African American men listen to symphonic music, I am not recommending that you listen to opera. If you like opera, fine, that's your business. But the strategic advantage I'm discussing comes from listening to symphonic music, an almost entirely instrumental, not vocal, repertoire composed between 1700 and 1900 for the most part. I'll be discussing details of specific works as we go along. These web pages are the initial stages of a work in progress. I should say these YouTube presentations are the initial stage of a work in progress. The next section is about going in circles. Sometime in 1969, a group called the Friends of Distinction put out a song entitled Going in Circles. It remains to this day one of my favorite songs. And I'm going to stop there. Um, there are two sections to come. And so I will have Going in Circles and Straight Up as my next two sections, okay? Music, mobilization, and strategy. Uh, and so, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.